Have you ever wondered how a single assassination could lead to a global conflict? The early 20th century was a volatile era in Europe, brimming with political tensions, intricate alliances, and rampant militarization. Each nation was a piece on a chessboard, their moves dictated by the delicate balance of power. The assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand in 1914, however, proved to be the catalyst that disrupted this balance. This one event set off a domino effect, igniting the spark that would lead to the Great War. Alongside this trigger, the complexities of imperialism, militarism, and alliances also played significant roles in setting the stage. These elements intertwined and escalated, creating a potent brew that was bound to boil over. And so, with a single gunshot, the stage was set for a war that would engulf the world. Imagine living in a narrow, muddy trench under constant threat from enemy fire. This was the grim reality for millions of soldiers on the Western Front during World War I. The strategic significance of trench warfare was immense. It allowed armies to defend territory with fewer soldiers, but it also led to a devastating stalemate, with neither side able to gain a decisive advantage. Life in the trenches was characterized by squalor and danger. Soldiers were forced to endure harsh conditions, from the biting cold to the constant threat of disease. Then there was the psychological toll. The constant fear, the deafening noise of artillery, and the loss of comrades were daily realities that left deep scars on the minds of those who survived. In these trenches, a new kind of warfare was born, one marked by endurance, fear, and the indomitable human spirit. The Western Front was not just a physical battleground, but a testing ground for the human will to survive and persist. What happens when technology advances faster than humanity's understanding of its implications? World War I was a stark example of this. The rapid progress in technology fundamentally reshaped the battlefield. Long gone were the days of simple gunpowder and bayonets. Instead, the world was introduced to a new era of warfare, marked by devastating machines of destruction. Tanks, armored vehicles that could traverse difficult terrains, made their debut. These behemoths of steel brought a new level of firepower and protection, altering the dynamics of ground warfare. The machine gun, capable of firing hundreds of rounds per minute, intensified the deadly nature of combat, mowing down lines of soldiers with terrifying ease. But perhaps the most horrifying introduction was that of chemical warfare. Mustard gas, a lethal agent that caused blistering skin and damage to the lungs, brought a nightmarish quality to the conflict. The technology of war had evolved, and with it, the scale of destruction. While soldiers fought on the front lines, what was happening back home? The home front was a world away from the trenches, yet it was no less crucial to the war effort. As men marched off to battle, their places in factories, farms, and offices were taken up by women. For the first time, women entered the workforce in large numbers, driving tractors, welding in shipyards, and even serving as police officers. Simultaneously, civilians were subjected to rationing. Food, fuel, and clothing were all carefully controlled to ensure resources were directed towards the war effort. Propaganda played a key role too, with governments using posters, films, and speeches to maintain morale and encourage support for the war. This was the era of total war, where the entire society was mobilized for the conflict. The war was not just fought on the battlefields, but also in the hearts and homes of those left behind. The resilience of nations was truly tested during these trying times. The war was not just fought on the battlefields, but also in the hearts and homes of those left behind. After 4 long years of bloodshed, how did the Great War finally come to an end? With the toll on human lives reaching an unbearable level, an armistice was signed on November 11, 1918, bringing an end to the fighting. The following year, the Treaty of Versailles was signed, marking the official end of the war. This treaty imposed heavy penalties on Germany, including significant territorial losses and reparations that crippled its economy. But the end of the war did not mean the end of conflict. The Treaty of Versailles, intended to secure peace, instead sowed the seeds for future wars. The geopolitical shifts that followed the war, the rise of new nations, and the resentment in Germany laid the groundwork for another devastating conflict, World War II. The Great War ended, but its echoes can still be heard in the annals of history, a poignant reminder of the cost of global conflict.